We're here with Suzanne Bludoff at the Valemount Community Hall today for the Emergency Planning Open House. Suzanne, you're the Emergency Coordinator for the Village of Valemount. Why has the village decided to hold this event?
We wanted people to start thinking about personal preparedness. Of course, there's wildfires, flooding, that kind of thing happening in the province, and people need to start thinking about the kinds of things that they would need to be able to take if they were evacuated. You usually only have 10 to 15 minutes if you're on evacuation, so you just need to have that kind of plan in place for yourself.
And we've got lots of partners here today. Can you kind of give us a rundown on who's here?
So we have the Red Cross is here, Regional District of Fraser Fort George, BC Wildfire Service, and Valemount Community Forest. Emergency Management BC couldn't be here today because, of course, they're deployed for other emergencies. So it's a good start to our open house. We plan to have an open house every year. This is our first year doing it.
Okay. Well, it's one of those things that people unfortunately don't like to think about it ahead of time, and that's the time where you really should be thinking about it because you can get prepared. What's the number one thing you should advise people to do now?
So the number one thing, of course, is to have your own personal emergency plan in place and to get your 72-hour kit in order. We have lots of documentation here to help you through that. So you should have your bin in place and have it in an accessible place if you need to leave right away. The other thing that you should have in place is a grab-and-go bag, and you would keep that with you at work or in your vehicle, so that if you got caught away from home, then you would at least have something with you to be able to get through the first few hours.
In terms of the grab-and-go bag, that's advice I see from a lot of people here today. What would be in a grab-and-go bag?
In a grab-and-go bag, you would have a change of clothing, you would have a map of the area, some copies of your important documents, a quick food item, because you might not be able to get to water and food right away, so you'd want to have like an energy bar, bottle of water, dried food, that kind of thing that you'd be able to use. That's pretty much what I have in my kit. It's just really the basic essentials of what you would need to get through that first 24 hours. Okay.
Well, we've talked with the Red Cross, we've talked with the regional district here. What is the village's role in an emergency?
The village's role is that we are mandated to have an emergency plan in place. And that Mayor and Council have made that a priority. That's why I was appointed in February as the emergency coordinator. You have to start somewhere, and so this is our first event to try to bring public awareness to people, and we're going to be expounding on that. So, as I said, next year we'll be doing this again, and we'll be adding more to it. So as our volunteers get trained and as we get more information, we'll make it even better next year. We have a base of about 20 volunteers that have come forward. They actually came forward after the fires last year, and they're very interested, gung-ho, to get going on this as well. So they're taking the basic training, and then we'll bring them in for more training. In a couple of years, I hope to do like a mock disaster in the town and involve all the different agencies. So just things that we're working towards.
This table, you've got sample kits for 72 hours for pets, for other things. If people want more information that weren't able to come today for whatever reason, where can they go to get that?
They can absolutely come and talk to me at the village office. We'll also have information on our site, on the village site. As time progresses, we'll make more and more information available on there. So those are the best places. And as different activities come up or training sessions, we'll be advertising in the local paper, putting it on the village site. So that gives people opportunities to come out and get that information.
So 2 words for everyone out there: be prepared.
Be prepared.
I'm here with Joanne Kennedy from the Canadian Red Cross. And Joanne, you're a volunteer with the Red Cross, and we're here at the Emergency Preparedness Workshop, Open House. Can you tell me what is the Red Cross's role in a disaster?
Normally, Red Cross responds at the request of a municipality or a regional district, and they will either set up a reception centre or a recovery centre. So reception center normally is handled by emergency social services for the first 72 hours in British Columbia. And then they will arrange with the Red Cross or another organization to either follow through from the reception center and into the recovery process. And so that evolves over time.
And what type of assistance is offered?
We'll actually set up a reception center or a housing unit if people need housing. So, for example, in Prince George, we've just received a new disaster response vehicle, which is a large truck that's equipped with four-wheel drive that can go into remote areas. It has a pod on the back of it that's an emergency command center, and so it's very flexible. And behind that, we pull a trailer that has enough materials in it to house 100 people. So we can set up cots and tents and emergency shelter for 100 people on short notice. So that's one of the things that we can do.
Okay, what else?
If there is a facility in the community that we can go into, we'll set up a recovery center and do a needs assessment. So food, clothing and shelter are provided. It's donor dollars, so the Red Cross is funded by donor dollars and supported by volunteers in addition to the staff that they normally have. And so basic needs that are not being met in other ways are covered by the Red Cross.
What else would you like people to know about what the Red Cross can help with?
Well, this is disaster management because that's why we're here today for preparedness, but we also have a help desk, which is medical equipment loan facilities. And main office is in Prince George, but we do all over northern British Columbia. We have medical equipment. We have a Respect Ed program, so that's to combat bullying, and our volunteers go into communities and schools and address young people and teachers and care workers about bullying and different aspects of that. We have a program that's called First Responders for people who are immigrants or have come into the country illegally and need some support. So those are the ones off the top of my head that I can think of right now.
Great. Well, it's an incredible organization, and as you say, it's mainly funded by donor dollars and a lot of volunteer efforts, and we really respect the work that you do.
Thank you. I feel privileged to be a part of this organization.
Thanks for coming today.
You're welcome.
Well, we're here with Anita Drew, who is the Emergency Services Coordinator for the Regional District of Fraser-Fort George. Welcome to Valemount.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
So we're here at the Emergency Preparedness Open House for the village and for all the partners that are involved. Can you tell us what is the Regional District's role in an emergency or disaster?
So our primary concern, of course, is the safety of the public, and so we are there to support the public and also to support other agencies in an emergency response.
Okay, and what types of things would we be looking at the Regional District to take on?
So much like we see today here as a demonstration in the community center, if emergency support services are required for residents to have somewhere to go to receive information, we would have an information center or reception center set up where people could receive information. They could also receive support for services such as lodging, clothing, or even incidentals, depending on what the emergency actually is.
And a lot of what happens in an emergency, or actually before an emergency, is preparedness. And I see that on your display table you have a lot of information about that. Can you give some people some ideas of what types of things how they should be preparing?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the key things that we'd like people to have is a grab-and-go bag ready to go, because of course during an emergency is not the time to try and be gathering important documents, important information that you need, even just basics that you need for yourself, your family, and your pets as well. And included in pets we are considering horses, llamas, goats, chickens. For commercial livestock, the Regional District has the ability to provide some assistance in relocating commercial livestock in an emergency situation, and so we recommend people have copies of their insurance papers, their passports, extra cash in the event of an emergency, food, water, and we have a list of information that you want to have items that you want to have in your grab-and-go kit. The other thing that we'd like people to know about is the difference between an emergency alert and an emergency order. An alert, when we have the opportunity to provide an alert, that gives residents the chance to do last-minute things, make sure that they have their grab-and-go kit ready, that it's loaded, that it's fresh, and that they're ready to go. We don't always have the luxury of the time to issue an alert before we have to go right to an order. And when we issue an evacuation order, we expect the public to leave now. And so having everything done in advance really takes a lot of the pressure off of the public, so that when we do say it's time to go, they just grab their go bag and away they go. We also have here a structure sprinkler protection kit, and we highly recommend that everyone implement that on their property, as well as fire smart principles, to ensure that any fuel that could exist to either start or cause or continue a fire is non-existent. And then having this sprinkler structure protection set up on the property also to create that humidity bubble around your structures really makes a significant difference in the viability of your structures through a fire event.
Well, it's human nature. We don't often want to talk about or think about emergencies. Last year, I think, drove home the point to Valemount and a lot of people in the regional district that anything can happen at any time. It was a very busy season and a very tragic season for the amount of wildfires and loss of properties, etc. And the regional district was very busy in helping out in that. What would you say to the residents of Valemount in a smaller community that's in a valley like this to be prepared?
Yeah, so key again is to implement fire smart principles on your property to ensure that the fuel loads are not existent on your property. That's number one. We also recommend that you make sure that your home insurance is up to date. Another thing that we recommend that you consider is changing the expiry of home insurance from fire season to the off season, so in the winter months. So November to February is a great time if you can talk to your insurance agent about changing that. Putting a structure sprinkler protection system in place for peace of mind, making sure that you have fuel and that you have money available for fuel if you need it.
Anything else we haven't discussed that you'd like to tell people about?
Just to be prepared, be emergency ready. Check our website. We have lots of information on our website. The last thing that we are going to be launching shortly is our public alerting system. And the intention of our system is to alert residents of the regional district electoral areas of evacuation alerts and evacuation orders. And if you sign up for the system, if there is an emergency event in your area, you will receive either a text message, or if you don't have a cell phone, you can receive a text to voice message on your landline. So we encourage you to go to our website. When you see the icon that says public alerting system with the exclamation point in the middle, if you click on that icon, it will take you to the registration site. It just takes you a couple of minutes. You can register your entire family. You can also register visitors. If you have family or friends coming from outside of the area, they can register for the time that they're here to receive alerts and emergency information for the area that they choose. And we've divided the regional district up into 3 different zones, and so you can choose to receive information for one zone or all 3 zones or 2 zones if you so wish.
Well, that seems very valuable. Well, thank you very much for coming and providing us with this great information.
Awesome. Thanks very much for having me.